Well, to everybody that's joined us this afternoon, thank you so much. My name is Ken Annandale, and I'm here with Penny Jones, my partner. And we're going to be doing a presentation today predominantly around the Occupational Health and Safety Act and the opportunities that it presents in terms of health and safety training. Health and safety training is a wonderful field to be in because essentially you have to do it. And I often joke about it and I say that the Department of Employment and Labor is our very, very, very best marketing agent because they say to the employer, you must train your people. And the employer obviously could look to you to help them get their people trained. So it's a good business to be in. And if you treat it properly, it'll look after you. I've been in health and safety for over 35 years. I started as a policeman. I landed up in the Navy. I then got into security for a short while, and then I worked for NOSA, the National Occupational Safety Association, for 5 years. And after that, I started a training company. And during that time, there was no digital devices. It was a completely new field. There was nobody I could turn to ask for assistance or guidance. And in particular, if I needed guidance like accounting or legal advice, I'd have to pay a lot of money for these guys. And after a while, Penny and I decided what we would do is that we would actually set up a business that assists people like yourself or companies to set up a training department. And that's what this is all about. And I'm going to give you a quick overview. We're recording it so you can share it with your colleagues and maybe your management team and your partner and so forth. So with that, let's move on. It's important to say that even though I have a law enforcement background, I'm not a lawyer. And you mustn't see this as legal advice. This is educational material, and that's the objective. I'll tell you about it. You can go and research, and you know that there is a statement or a term that is used called due diligence. Do your due diligence. And we advise everybody, every single person that comes our way, do your due diligence because there's a lot of misinformation out there. And we'll reveal some of that to you today, and we'll also assist you, make sure that you are suitably guided. Okay, right now, I'm not too sure if you've registered via the website or you received a link, but down below in the chat box, if you could just pop your name in so that we can make sure that we've got you on the list and that we share all the documentation that is available for you to do your due diligence. It's quite important that you also know that the chat box is public and any information that you share there is available to everybody else that is coming onto the presentation. Now, if you happen to be a kind of person that is not able to watch live and you're watching the recording, there is a telephone number, a cell phone number on the screen, which is our customer relations manager, Natalie's number. It's a business number 082 499 6911, 082 499 6911. And you can, if you capture that, save it on your phone, you can send her a message and say, please help me with this and please do that. You can also go onto the website and register there, and you'll see that there is a link that says more information. So here's the team. So it's myself and Penny and Natalie, and then a lady by the name of Erna. So I've been in the health and safety game for a long time. I've written a couple of books. I speak at conferences. I've chaired the SAQA conference on a number of occasions, very involved with SAQA, the South African Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. Then there is Penny. She's our financial director. There's Natalie, the young lady with the white jersey and the long dark hair. She's our customer relations manager. She's my daughter, so it's a family business. Then there is Erna. And Erna is our debtors and creditors clerk. There's a young man by the name of Gavin, the fellow with the black shirt and glasses. He's our accountant. The man with the checked shirt is Mike. He's our attorney. Then there is Deline. She is a phenomenally proficient training material developer. There is Divan, who looks after our online platform. Then there is Dirk, who looks after our whole social media platform through an agency. And then the young man with the dark shirt, his name is, oh gosh, what's his name, Penny? Shane. I almost said Sean. So he looks after our website. Okay, so there's the group. You'll see that we're also members of IOSH, which is the International Occupational Safety Association, and APID, which is a local body. Okay, there's a little bit about us and a lot more in this document called the prospectus. So I'm going to advise right now, get a copy of the prospectus. You can either WhatsApp Natalie or you can go and register on the website and you'll get a copy of this prospectus. And it's kind of like a proposal. It'll tell you everything I say to you today will be covered in there in some other way, and means you've got it in writing. So you hear it from the horse's mouth. That's myself. And then, of course, you can get it in writing. And I say to everybody, get the prospectus, print it, go through the prospectus with a highlighter and draw up a list of questions. And once you've got your questions, come back to us and we can answer the questions to you. I'm going to ask Penny just to audibly quickly introduce herself so that she can, you could see who she is and what she does within the organization.
Thanks, Ken. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm doing a bit of the technical support today because Natalie's on a workshop. So I'm more on the financial side of the business and the delivery side of the business. I also head up the e-learning platform, and since January of last year have been heavily involved on the accreditation support program that we offer, which ensures that you can get your own accreditation in your own time. And back to Ken.
Great. Thanks, Penny. You look after the technical stuff for us. That's wonderful. I call her Techno Babe. Excuse me, and she's getting really good. Okay, so what's the foundation for all of this? We know in South Africa that we have a declining employment rate, as sad as it may be. Losing lots and lots of people, and obviously I say losing as in employees. So currently we have about 8.5, 9 million people who are employable, but unemployed. And then we've got about 16, 17 million people who are employed. Now, the Occupational Health and Safety Act relates to these 16.8 million people. There is also the Mines Health and Safety Act, but it's a much smaller group of people. And our focus is on the Occupational Health and Safety Act. We know that the Act requires training, and the training would literally go information, instruction, and training. There's different types of training: legal compliance, which is non-credit bearing. There's accredited training, which is credit bearing. There's Department of Employment and Labor approved training. And it's really important for you to know and understand all these terms so that you get your head around it and understand where you're going to position yourself. We also know that the Occupational Health and Safety Act has something like, forgive me if I got the number wrong, 21 or 23 regulations, many of which demand training. So this is a question of training. And I've got a statement that I've used for many years. If you don't train them, you can't blame them. And that's so true. In the health and safety field, we know that employees must be trained because A, it's good business, and B, it's good for the employee. I often say it is great to know that we're helping people stay out of court and helping people to stay out of hospital. Okay, so setting up a training business or training department is not all that difficult, but there's a lot of little bits and pieces that you need to know. For instance, who must do the training? Can the employer do the training? Can you do the training? Who must do it? And what does the law say in terms of who must do the training? So I'm going to run through a section in the Act. The Occupational Health and Safety Act is Section 8. And Section 8 and Section 13 are two sections which you need to maybe just learn off by heart. And I've just paraphrased it over here. It says, Section 8 says, the employer shall, the employer. So who's going to do the training? The employer. Now, the employer is a really busy person, I would imagine. It says that the employer must establish the hazards, step 1. Step 2, establish the precautionary measures. Okay, that makes sense. Then the employer must take the list of hazards and the precautionary measures and write it into various forms, such as an information session, an instruction session, a training session, and then the employer must provide supervision. So if you look at that Section 8 is the very, very basis of anybody setting up a health and safety training department or company. Okay, then it jumps a couple of sections, 9, 10, 11, 12, and gets to Section 13. Now, remember we're saying who must do the training? It says the employer shall cause every employee. Which employee? Every employee. How many employees? Every employee. It's really important. Every employee. And you know that there is a definition of the word employee. And you must have a look at that because you'll see that contractors and subcontractors and people like that, even volunteers who work in your company or for your company or organization, could be regarded as employees. And then it says to what level? Well, it says they must be made conversant. Conversant means that the person can converse and talk about it. So if you think of something like ergonomics, the employee will attend an information or instruction or training session. And after that, they go out back into the workplace or go home. They should be able to talk about ergonomics. Converse. Ndifunde isiXhosa. I'm learning to speak isiXhosa and I'm starting to learn to speak French. And I'm not conversant in either of those languages. So you understand, conversant means that people can understand you and understand it. And what must be made conversant with? The hazards and the precautionary measures. So simple. Those two sections will then form the foundation of your sales, your marketing, your training, and everything like that. I'll come back to it again and again and again. Okay. Now, what kind of hazards could you encounter in the workplace? There's a lot. I'm not going to read them all. I can send you this list if you want. And in the prospectus, we talk about these. Look at all these health and safety issues that need to be dealt with in some other manner or means. Some of them may apply, others may not apply. But it's a lot. And remember, we're using those three words: inform, instruct, and train. Okay, moving on. So now who can present the training? Well, we said that the employer must cause every employee to be made conversant. You understand that? Now, the employer is busy. The employer is running the company or organization. So they can appoint a contractor. And the Occupational Health and Safety Act refers to contractors as mandataries. Unusual word, mandatory. The person who has the mandate to run the training, which could be you, which is fantastic. So in the Act, it makes provision for someone like you if you're going to be a training provider. Now, it is also important that you need to know your duties and responsibilities to the employer. And I'm not talking about duties and responsibilities in terms of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. I'm talking about things like Consumer Protection Act and so forth. Okay. Now, important to know that, because if you take on the role of mandatory and you break the law, look what it says. Whenever an employee or mandatory of any employer or user does or omits to do an act which would be an offense in terms of this act for the employer or user to do or omit to do, he or she, that's you, shall be liable to be convicted and sentenced in respect thereof as if you were the employer or user. Now, coming out of a legal background, I understand that it's really important that people know and understand these different things. So that's why I use Section 37 as a caution. Do your due diligence and know what you're getting yourself into. Now, there is a document that I wrote some time ago called Am I Allowed to Do Health and Safety Training? And without getting into too much detail over here, I met somebody some years ago and she said to me, all health and safety training has to be accredited. And I had to point out to her repetitively, that's misinformation. It is not true that all health and safety training must be accredited. And one of the things that we do at INTRA is we actually make sure that you understand when it is important. Now, just moving on a little bit there, Section 38 says any person, so that's you, me, any person, anyone, employer, employee, contractor, subcontractor, volunteer, who is guilty of an offense and convicted in terms of this act, the maximum fine per offense. Now, let me just say that again. Per offense is 50,000 Rand, maximum. Then it's also important that you know what's coming. Now, I use this in the sense that I don't like to threaten people with the law, but I do say to them, are you aware of the fact that they've been talking for the last 10 years or so about an occupational health and safety amendment bill? And look at the size of the fines there. It jumps from 50,000 per offense to 5 million Rand per offense. So that's a great motivator when it comes to talking to clients and saying, I think you need to do this training because currently 50,000, in future 5 million. Okay. Now, question which we ask you and will ask you is, do you want to do this training in-house or do you want to be a training provider? And before we started this presentation, I was asking some of the guests that had joined us, I was saying, what do you want to do? Who are you? What do you want to do? And where are you? And what's your background? So let's talk a little bit about that. If you're an in-house trainer and you're going to be doing training for your organization, not commercially, not taking it out into the marketplace, these are some of the things that you may want to regard as incentives. Why do this training? There's the financial incentive, the compliance incentive, the fact that you can customize it to address your specifics. Then there is the efficiency incentive, the knowledge incentive. And from that, you can immediately see why companies and organizations would want to do it themselves. And we have a license for that. We'll be talking about that in a moment, specifically for corporates. Okay. But then there is you, probably you, somebody who wants to become a training provider and start your own training business. And these are things that you're going to have to consider. These are elements which will talk you through, help you set up your business. We won't do it for you. It's still going to be up to you to do it, but it's going to be something that we'll point it out and say, you need to do this and that and that and that. And we'll give you guidance and we'll make contact and introduce you to people so that you can get the appropriate things in place. Okay, now don't worry about them right now. What we will do is that we'll talk you through this in the question and answer session at the end, or alternatively, if you have a one-on-one question and answer with either Penny or myself or Natalie. Okay, so right at the bottom, you'll see there's a thing called the CP Act. That's the Consumer Protection Act. And I'm going to encourage every single person to read that legislation in terms of the Occupational Health and Safety Act and the provision of training. Okay, then the next question is, do you want to do legal compliance training or do you want to do accredited credit-bearing training? And it's important that you know what you want to do because it's going to affect the way you structure your business. Now, there is a change that's coming. And I'm going to ask Penny, would you like to just talk about it? Or yes, she's going to come across and she's going to quickly talk about the change, the transition from SAQA to QCTO.
So I think, thanks, Ken. I think everybody knows that SETA is transforming, if you like, into the QCTO in terms of where we are placed in terms of the short course industry for health and safety. And it's been a challenging time because initially they were not going to be involved with anything under 8 credits. And we had a copy of that letter from the CEO of the QCTO some couple of years ago, and we all were very relieved. But then subsequent to that, it became mandatory that all of the short course industry would also be incorporated into the QCTO. And this is why we're sitting with this big delay in the fact that they do not have the skills programs available yet with the QCTO. But there is some good news, there is some progress, and I think we'll probably touch on that later.
Penny, thank you so much. Absolutely. And for those of you that have joined us now, thank you so much. Just want to let you know that we're recording this and we'll put this onto YouTube this evening, and you'll be able to play it again and again and again, or share it with your partners and or your employer or whoever needs to hear this information. So thanks, Penny. Appreciate that. Yep, there's change ahead. Now, don't be scared. It's not the kind of thing that can't be managed. Of course it can be managed. And the joy is it is quite possible to go ahead and start training this month, next month, without accreditation. Oh, wow. Okay. Now, when we're talking accreditation, we come across people often. May I say this? They're just uninformed. They don't know what they're talking about. I hear people saying, is your course material registered? I go, with whom? Yeah, but is it certified? Yeah, but with whom? Is it verified? So we're going to give you a little bit more information in there. So have a look at these words: accredited, agreed upon, aligned, approved, and certified. All of these have a definition in a place. All of them. And I'm sure you understand that the most important one currently is accredited and then approved. The others, the agreed upon, the aligned, the certified. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about competency. That's a very, very important word in terms of the Act. And, of course, in terms of SETA, SAQA, NQF, QCTO, and so forth. Compliance. We talk a lot about legal compliance training. Is it registered? Is it verified? Is it licensed? And there are various bodies that claim these words and use these words to describe what they do. Now, ours is the one right at the bottom, the license. We have a license agreement in terms of the Consumer Protection Act, and that act allows us to license training material and services to people like yourself, and you could then become a licensee. So the question is, when must it be accredited? Very easy to define. So in the regulations, you'll find when you go into the regulations, you'll find that there might be a definition for the word competency or competent person. Might, not obvious. And it talks about the competent person who has the necessary qualifications and training in terms of the NQF Act. Interesting. Not all the regulations have competency in it. And let me say that again. Not all regulations have competency built into it. 'Then it also says, when you see the word competency in the regulation, and I'm going to give you the sections where you could find it. It says that person, that could be you or the learner, must be familiar with the Act and the applicable regulations made under the Act. Okay, so having seen that, I see two courses there. One, we teach the person how to do whatever it is that they need to do, responsibilities, roles, functions, duties, things like that. And then we also teach them about the Occupational Health and Safety Act and those regulations. Now, what regulations? Those are the regulations where you can find the word competent person or the words competent person. The first one, general safety regulation, that's obvious, that's first aid. Then the next one is driven machinery. That's things like forklifts and cranes and hoists and things like that. Then the next one is construction. So you'll find competency required there for working at heights. Ergonomics, for ergonomic risk assessors. A regulation called physical agents, asbestos, explosives, commercial diving, hazardous biological agents and hazardous chemical agents, and then major hazard installations. Now, don't worry at this stage if you don't know anything about it. We'll take you through these various sections so that you can become familiar with them, or we'll extract it and help you extract it so that you, when speaking to your employer or your client, you can talk about these a lot more authoritatively. And with that, we say, well, good. Now, with that background, why not become an INTRA training provider? Because we're going to provide you with a lot of very, very useful material and information. And what we've done is that we put a business model together very similar to a franchise. It's actually not a franchise in terms of the Consumer Protection Act. It's a license. And it comprises of these different elements. So if you think of it, if you were going to be buying a franchise, you would go to the franchisor, that's us, and you would be the franchisee or the licensor and or the licensee. And we're going to equip you, support you, provide all these elements to you, depending on the license that you choose. Okay, a lot more about this in the prospectus. And in the prospectus, you'll see that we talk about 5 different licenses, starting right at the top. That's the corporate license called Platinum. Then the most beneficial one called Prime. But we also have a license called Prime Plus. We'll talk about that. Then we've got a basic license, depending on what you've already got in place. If you're already accredited, basic is perfect for that. And then the starter license. Okay, so having said all of that, the detail is in the prospectus. So I'm going to ask Penny just to quickly talk through the costings so that you can see what you're in for if you decide to go one of these routes, and she can explain to you how this entire process works.
Thanks, Ken. So the Platinum license is for corporates with multi-branch or multi-country setups, and that starts at over 100,000. It is negotiated according to the size of the company. Our most important and valuable license is the Prime license, and that is currently priced at 49,500. And there is a monthly license fee of 1,500. All of these fees quoted, by the way, are excluding VAT. Then the Prime Plus that Ken spoke about is everything that you get in Prime, but also it includes a hand-holding, project-managed accreditation approach. So within the Prime, Ken's going to go into some detail and unpack the Prime a little bit more. But the Prime Plus is with a hand-holding, project-managed accreditation process as well. That's why it is priced at 69,500. The basic is less, a lot of delivery, but it does cover the essential legal compliance training and the e-learning platform. So that is very helpful if you already have your accreditation in place, or otherwise you just want to start at a lower starting block, if you like, and then move up the ladder. Please remember that we do give you a discount for your licenses purchased, or maybe you've been purchasing kits or anything else from us in the past. We do offer you a discount of that against your upfront fee, up to a maximum of 50% of your upfront fee. So the basic also has the monthly license fee of 1,500 plus VAT. Then the starter, this is perfect for you if you just want to put your toe in the water, you just want to see what is the quality of the training material like. You can select 6 training materials and 6 e-learning courses, and that will give you a really good idea of the quality that's available to you within the program. We do offer one or two other additional benefits for the starter, but that is priced at 15,500 plus VAT. That also has a monthly license fee of 500 rands plus VAT. And there is funding assistance. So if you need to split your payments over a couple of months, or 2 or 3 or whatever, please remember to discuss that with Natalie, or if you're chatting to myself or Ken. And then we offer a 5% admin fee would be added to those fees for your payment plan. But we do offer that, and that's sometimes very popular and a great way to help you control your cash flow. Training material, if you just want to buy one training material at a time, and we've been running a special whereby if you buy 2 training materials, you get one for free, and we're happy to continue to offer that to you for the month of October. And that's just a great way for you to add to your existing library, and also bear in mind that those credits will be kept against your name, your company name, for when you are ready to upgrade to a full license. So I think Ken now is going to explain in more detail what's available.
Thank you, Penny. Penny's nickname is Money Penny, like the James Bond character. And she's our financial director, and she has a background in finance and understanding small business. In fact, she's been in small business longer than I have. So an incredibly valuable source of information. You'll see right at the bottom there, all of these expenses are tax deductible. And that's such an important statement, because people look at the prices and they go, ooh, but in terms of Section 11A of the Income Tax Act, you can deduct the setup costs. Important to note. You can chat to your accountant about it, your bookkeeper, they'll be able to confirm that. Okay, so what support do you get once you decide on a license and you're going to go that route? I'm going to run through this very, very quickly. We're going to provide you with 26 legal compliance training materials. And those are the topics. 26. So immediately you can get going. Now, legal compliance is not accredited. It's not credit bearing. It's because the law says identify the dangers, hazards, and risks and train your people. Simple. Remember we said that in Section 8? So you can look at those, and we'll send you, if you want, the training material catalog. So you can look at each one of those courses and you can see what's in the course. There's a course content sheet. So for instance, if you look at ergonomics again, you can see what is covered in the ergonomics program. So from there, we say, fine. Now, how do we get you up and running? Let's say you don't know anything about ergonomics. I'm going to use that as an example. Well, you can attend the 4th one on the list, Ergo Track. It's an e-learning orientation program for our licensees, first and foremost. And then secondly, because we've got this up and running, and we've obviously spent a lot of quality time putting this together, you can promote this amongst your clients as an income generating mechanism. And that's exciting, because we know that people, in fact, I had a client this morning saying, can we use your training material in Mozambique? The answer is, of course, not a problem at all. He's got 2 people. How does he get them to a workshop in Mozambique? Well, we can do e-learning. And if the client agrees to it, we will share the proceeds with that person. Okay, so I'm sure that makes sense. More information, we've got a lot of information on this entire project and process. Then we've got about 40 old unit standards, some of which have expired and others have been extended. Now, you might not understand the terminology, don't worry. But as Penny mentioned, there's a transition from SETA to QCTO. And they're slowly but surely phasing these unit standards out. And eventually there will be no more as of June 2026, they tell us. So with that in mind, you will get 26 legal compliance programs plus 40 unit standard line programs. That takes it up to 66. That's not bad. And then if you decide to go for Prime, you'll get another 3 programs, which are QCTO aligned training programs for first aid, basic, intermediate, and advanced. And in that, you receive facilitator guide, learner workbooks. You'll receive trainer matrix. You'll receive assessments and all the documentation that's necessary for you to run a course, and obviously that the employee or the learner may require. Now, when it comes to accreditation, this is Penny's department. If you're a Prime licensee or a Prime Plus licensee, she will then give you a lot of guidance in a workshop that she runs on a regular basis. And this workshop is literally online. You attend it. You don't have to pay anything extra if you're a licensee, and you can then apply for and manage your own accreditation. Now, why? Because the QCTO says that you can only get 5 or 6. How many, Penny? 5 or 6?
I'm actually asking them to confirm, but
Okay.
it should be 6.
We believe you can only get 6, they call them curriculum codes, accredited at any one stage. Then you have to apply again and again and again and again. And you can see the topics, the number of topics that health and safety have, that you could land up spending a lot of money on accreditation. So way, 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 way better if you know how to do it yourself. And she'll talk you through all the logistics, what's required, all the equipment, and they've got various forms and documentation that they go through in this DIY AccrediKit program. So do it yourself accreditation. There's the workshop. You learn how to do it yourself. You'll get the QCTO programs that have already been approved and published. And now we say, consider the fact that 2025, 26, or 2025 is coming to an end. Can you believe that? I mean, it's crazy. But 2026, let's get ready and make sure that you're in the queue, because when they publish these things, they being the QCTO, there is going to be a rush. This is what they said is coming. There's 11 programs over there. And you can, if you have a look at the programs, you can see the credits. So let me just quickly talk you through this chart. The first one is the SP, that's the skills program number. Then the title, and we've got awaiting 11. And then we've currently got, amongst our legal compliance training programs, the original material, the HIRA, ACTRAC, HAZREP, IVACTRAC, InvestTrack, and so forth. Then there's the NQF level, followed by the credits. And if you know anything about the credit arrangement, the way the formula works, is that for every credit, you need to do 10 notional hours worth of training. Now, that's not 10 hours in the classroom. Let me just say that, because there's a formula there. But for instance, a 2-credit program, you could say it's 20 notional hours, and 1/3 of that needs to be spent in the classroom. Okay, so that'll tell you it's a 1-day course. 1/3 of 20 or 21 is 7 hours or thereabouts. Sure you understand that now? Then if you go right down to the bottom, the health and safety representative one, they call it a high-risk work area. And that's 60 hours. Gosh, that means 1/3 of that is 20 hours in the classroom. All right. Important that you know this stuff. And that's one of the reasons why we say legal compliance training comes first. Do the legal compliance training, comply, make sure that the employer has a certificate of attendance to prove that the learner has been through the program. And now, today, I can almost play my trumpet, go, doo, doo, doo. These are the next 7 that they're working on. Now, when we talk about the programs being published, so in other words, the QCTO approves them and then publishes them on their website. On the QCTO website, and you can let me or Natalie know, and we can send you the link to that, you can go there and see what has already been published. And there's ergonomics. You'll see that there's actually 2 ergonomic programs here, number 1 and number 3. So it's exciting stuff. I said to those of you that were in early, it's like there's light at the end of the tunnel, and as they say, and it's not an approaching train. This is exciting stuff. It means that the QCTO is picking up the pace and will be publishing a lot more in the near future. So work with us. Obviously, get your business up and running. Make sure that all the infrastructure is in place. You've got your investments in place. Make sure that you know what you're talking about. Now, you don't start the new year 2026 just absolutely blind and in the dark. By 2026, you'll have a much, much better idea of how to run your program. And Jerome was very gracious just to talk about what we do and how we help you so that you can get up and running. We want you to be successful. Okay, so having said that, now there's more licensee support. For instance, setting up a business for the very first time, if you don't have online marketing presence, know this, that they won't be able to find you. And Marketing it's marketing. You need to be found first and foremost on the internet. So Natalie, she's got a degree in media from the UCT, and she worked for a number of large advertising agencies, and now she helps our licensees set up their online marketing presence as part of the Prime license. So you can chat to Natalie about it. She doesn't build websites, but it's really, really, really useful having somebody that you can talk to about these things. Okay, moving on. Then, of course, there's a lot of changes taking place all the time. So we do an onboarding session right in the beginning. It's short, it's less than an hour. Then on a monthly basis, we do an orientation session, which is 3.5, 4 hours. We do one-on-one mentoring all the time. We have webinars, which we record. And in the middle over there, you'll see one called Intro to AI. And the artificial intelligence, how it's impacting the health and safety world is very exciting. We have a program coming up for licensees. This is exclusive just to licensees. That's coming up when, Penny?
So we have
Penny's quickly looking at the dates. Okay, I caught her offhand.
Yes, so actually just confirmed today. I'm very excited. We've been working on the idea for a while, but it's a 3-part workshop initially, and we have a date for the 24th of October, and then I think it's the 21st of November, and the last one being the 5th of December for this year. And that's free and included within the Prime license. Yeah, looking forward to having you on board so you can be part of that. Would totally revolutionize how you present yourself.
Wow, absolutely.
In terms of the training materials that you also add and develop, and your toolbox talks and posters and etc. and videos, of course, etc.
So we've got 2-part YouTube channel. One is available to the public, and then the other one is a private program or a private platform where you as a licensee can go. So we've spoken about the amendment bill. We've spoken about the transition. We've spoken about things that are relevant to you. And you'll see on the right-hand side over there, there's the orientation. We record these things so that you can revisit them. And of course, if you have any questions, you can call us. I often joke about it, and I say you can call us almost any time of the day, as long as it's not after 9 o'clock at night and during rugby. So that's something that we want to make sure. Now, as we start wrapping up the presentation, I just want to say this, that we have over 100 active licensees in Africa, from Dubai to Durbanville. And you heard, or possibly heard, Jerome saying that he works in Angola as well. And I was talking about one of our licensees, Colin, who's currently in Mozambique. So this is all part of the collaboration opportunity, where you have almost immediately 100 people that could help you in these different centers. And I would strongly suggest that you take advantage of it, because this is stuff that we didn't have when I started my business. And now we've got it. We've also got medical doctors that are licensees. We've got a couple of professors from university that are licensees. We have an ex-Department of Employment and Labor inspector that's a licensee. We have occupational, they call them AIAs, authorized inspection authorities, that are licensees. So it's a really healthy, vibrant group of people. And we're going to encourage you to introduce yourself to them and then get to know them as well. Okay. So do you remember we were talking about the costings? And I just want to tell you that we do have a Black Friday deal that's coming up in November. And with that, you're going to receive a 10% discount, which means that those fees that we showed you will be discounted to the amount of 10%.
And for those of you that can confirm your order in the month of October, we are very pleased to offer you that 10% discount as well. It definitely wouldn't be fair for us to charge you full rate and then a few days later it gets discounted by that 10%.
Sure.
So as from today, please do take advantage of this annual special. And really, don't delay, because Ken was talking about the timings. And I've been in touch with the QCTO and SETA today. We're almost at the end of the year. If you are able to get going quickly, then you can get everything organized. You can probably get your accreditation application in by the month of November, which means your site visit would be locked down for January, February, and your accreditation in place by March of next year, in time for you to sit with your clients and their new WSPs for the next year or two, which is always due at the end of April. And you can definitely work together with them with that confidence of that QCTO badge behind you. So if that QCTO QCTO badge is something that you definitely need. Then get going as quickly as possible. For those of you that already have your QCTO badge, remember that those new OHS skills programs are coming. We are hoping that today, tomorrow, in a week's time, we're going to see them now being published on the website. They have been officially approved and rubber stamped by the QCTO committees, but they need to be published on the website before we can now supply you with those training materials and help you with your accreditation application for those. Back to Ken.
Great. Yeah, it's exciting times. And I'm saying to people wherever I can, I say, don't delay. And I know that sounds like a sales technique, but it's not. You don't want to be in the crush when they publish it, and then you are right at the bottom of the pile. And I know that the QCTO is under a lot of pressure at the moment, and they have to obviously get their act together. But it means that you've got to get your act together. You get your act together now so that your business is up and running and you understand what is required for the business, that you're familiar with it, that you've got the infrastructure, and of course, got the funding, and make sure that you're ready to rock and roll in the new year. Now, with that in mind, we'll be able to provide you with more information, and please don't hesitate to WhatsApp us. I have a document that I put together a little while ago called the Roadmap. And the roadmap is just this. It is, okay, so Ken, I'm thinking about this, but what must I actually do? Give me some practical hints and tips and information, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, and so forth. And the roadmap is just a word for Windows document that I put together with the objective of providing you with a little bit more information. So you'll have, on the one hand, you'll have the prospectus, terms and conditions and features and benefits, and then you'll have the roadmap, which is the beginning of the orientation process. If you want a copy, you don't have to be a licensee. If you want a copy, just go down to the chat box and give me your name, a cell phone number so I can WhatsApp it to you. I don't like using email as much anymore because I just have hundreds of emails that I have to send. And I will send, and just right there, please send me the roadmap, and I'll gladly do that. Similarly, please send me the prospectus if you haven't received it. Okay, so that's the roadmap. Now, if you are already and have been to some of these presentations, I see some, Donnie, welcome. Nice to have you back again. If you're familiar with our license agreement, what I'm going to suggest you do is just send a message to Natalie's number, 082 499 6911, 082 499 6911. Maybe you just grab your phone and take a photograph of that screen, and then you can save her number and you can just say, quote, and your name, and she'll get to it as soon as she's finished with the workshop today. So with that, thank you. I really believe that we're going to get some serious motion now, and I'm going to invite you to a one-on-one Q&A. So you get hold of Natalie again. Remember the number? There's the number. Get hold of Natalie, and she will help you set up a one-on-one meeting with either Penny, myself, or her, and we can answer your questions. Now, if you happen to have a management team or a couple of partners that you want to join, don't hesitate. Bring them in. It's fine. Not a problem at all. And we obviously, because it's online, we do it cross-border. And I was chatting to some people the other day from Botswana. No problem at all. We can help you with that. Okay, so I think right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to open the microphones and ask you for any questions. Remember to use the chat box down below. And once we've got your questions, we'll provide you with the answers, and or you can unmute yourself and you can ask the questions as well. So with that, let me stop the recording, and I want to say to those of you that have joined us afterwards, you aren't part of the live presentation, we look forward to connecting with you. You got the details, and let us know certainly how we can help you. Thank you very much, and all the best for now. As I say, play safe, stay safe.